community to engage every learner in a robust educational program designed to provide the knowledge and skills necessary for success. Superintendent Adams.
Good evening. Thank you so very much, Madam President and the board. I have had the honor this week of attending 3 wonderful events that were sponsored by community partners to celebrate the success of our students as well as students from other programs and other schools in our region. On Tuesday, I had the pleasure of offering remarks as the New York State Office of General Services inducted 9 Albany High School students into its 2018-2019 internship program. The event was also recognized the achievement of 5 Albany High students who participated in the program this year. This is our ongoing partnership with OGS that is providing our students with meaningful paid internship experiences throughout the summer and school this year. These internships are also potential pathways to significant career opportunities for our students. We are grateful to OGS for the ongoing collaboration. Later Tuesday evening, I attended the YMCA's annual Black and Latino Achievers Gala. The Y celebrated 25 graduating seniors from Albany and throughout the Capital Region who successfully completed their Achievers program. The Achievers program had a 100% graduation rate this year and now has served more than 350 high school students since its inception 15 years ago. It was a vibrant and emotional ceremony, and I was honored to be able to attend as the guest of the College of St. Rose. On Wednesday evening, I had the privilege of addressing 31 soon-to-be high school graduates who were members of the Capital Region Sponsor a Scholar class of 2018. Like the WISE Achievers program, Sponsor a Scholar is committed to providing access to educational opportunities and support for students. I am grateful to both organizations as well as the scores of volunteers who make these efforts possible. Albany High's Abrucken Center and Career and Technical Center hosted the final Business Alliance meeting of the school for this year on Wednesday. I would like to highlight a few significant achievements that Principal Mark has shared with the staff members and community partners in attendance. Our health science pathway currently has more than 100 students in the program and 75 new students requesting for next school year to be a part of it. We are looking at additional resources to support the growth of our students' interest in this pathway. In cosmetology, 50 of the 51 students who took the program's recent industry-level exam were successful in passing that assessment. The high level of rigor that the assessment means that all of these students now are on track to success with the state certification exam. Albany High's class of 2018 will have more than 20 seniors who will have earned their CTE endorsement in cosmetology. A year ago, we did not have any students graduating with that credential. Health science and cosmetology are 2 of the 7 state-approved CTE pathways that Abrucken offers. We also have 4 additional pathways in the approval process. The career and technical education is a central element of our programmatic development work at Albany High. We want to make sure that all of our students have opportunities to benefit from hands-on, real-world experiences that a robust CTE program may provide for them. We are hosting the final session of our 2nd free OSHA training at Hackett Middle School this Saturday. 30 people participated in the first half of the training at Hackett last Saturday. With the completion of this Saturday's session, we will have provided 3 OSHA trainings to more than 55 people this spring. This is an important step toward employment in the construction industry for them and one of the first steps in our ongoing commitment to workforce development in our community. We will schedule more of these free OSHA training opportunities through the summer and the fall. We are grateful to our partners at Turner Construction for supporting us in these community outreach efforts. As another step in this process, we have arranged for 12 to 15 prospective union workers to visit the Finishing Trades Institute in Menands this Friday. They will have the opportunity, to meet representatives from several local unions to learn more about the next steps to apprenticeship programs and employment. We will keep you updated on the continued progress of our community outreach and engagement in this important area. I'm looking forward to participate in 2 important panel discussions sponsored by local media organizations next Friday. On Friday morning, I will join the panelists from Albany, Schenectady, and Troy for a discussion about the important role that school districts play in attracting millennials and young families to our region's urban areas. This discussion will be a part of the Albany Business Review's Power Breakfast series. Later, I am looking forward to participating on a Times Union Women at Work panel discussion. We will be discussing organizational leadership. I'm honored to have the opportunity to be part of the dialogue on both of these critical topics. In addition, we are pleased to announce that we have worked with APSU and finalized their contract. I thank both the negotiating teams for their hard work in this endeavor. A reminder that Monday is the last day of classes at Albany High for school this year. Region exams begin next Tuesday and continue through June 21st. And then it's on to graduation for the members of the 2018 class. Our graduation ceremonies will be at the Times Union Center on Sunday, June 24th, beginning at 2 p.m. And I'm looking forward to celebrating this momentous occasion with our students and families. This year is also winding down for elementary and middle school students. We have a number of end-of-the-year events and moving up ceremonies scheduled over the next 2 weeks. Please visit albanyschools.org for more information about all of these activities, as well as information about summer school opportunities. And now I would like to invite Principal Vibetta Sanders to tell us more about the great things happening here at Pine Hills. And she has just a few guests with her today.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Pine Hills Elementary School. For some of you, this may be your first time here, so welcome. We hope you come back and see us again. We are a Leader in Me school, and typically I don't speak, but today I will just a teensy bit, but you'll hear the most about our school from our student leaders. I'm going to run through some things really quickly, as I know that we have a time commitment here today. You know what our mission is, but I'm going to put it really quickly. Learn, lead, change the world. The other part is really more the verbiage in terms of what we value as a school, the whole child, academic development, leadership, and lifelong learning. I'm going to skip through our demographics because you already know that. However, I want to mention one thing in terms of our demographic that I believe makes us very unique. 17 languages are spoken in our school, and 6 foreign languages are spoken by our staff members. We are probably the most diverse learning community in the district. We pride ourselves on that, and it's one of the reasons why we have so many varied languages spoken by our staff members. Our demographics are as what you see here. I'm just going to go over some of our SEP highlights, so I kind of clustered Tenet 2, 3, and 4 together. And one of the things that has been very, very successful for us this year is our data teaming grades K through 5. This is the first year that every single teacher, other than pre-K teachers, have had exposure and coaching through the data teaming process. Our NWA growth scores remain pretty much similar. We don't have our spring to spring data as of yet, so we're hoping that we will actually show an increase. In the wintertime, we showed a slight decline. I think that that is really to be expected, also because the thing that we were looking at to really boost those RIT scores was our data teaming. So we won't have the full information about that until we actually analyze the spring data. Studio Math continues. We've also increased the number of offerings for faculty in their staff development on site, meaning that that 1 hour of PD after school, I think is used very, very well in our learning community. All of our students have data binders in which they track their learning. For Tenet 5, this is an area that we tend to excel as a learning community. Our boys and girls mentoring group serve over 33 students. This group is designed to decrease classroom disruption and to also help children navigate some of the social-emotional challenges they may have before it becomes a behavior problem. We have monthly leadership assemblies, and the boys and girls will talk a little bit about that. Our discipline referrals are down from 282 in 2017 to 265 in 2018. Although we do expect a slight increase because we had a change in staffing, so the month of May and June will probably have a bit of a bump. All teachers are monitoring student behavior either through Classroom Dojo or point sheets. This year we did a lot with Tenet 6. We really took a look at how the way in which we were serving our families. And so we provide enhanced opportunities for parents to become involved in school. We also created a feedback mechanism so that we have a good understanding as to what was the impact on whatever workshop or activities the parent just engaged in. And also it was an opportunity for them to give us feedback on what are some other things that they would like to see. We had an increase in the number of student-led conferences. That continues to be something that is fairly well attended, and in part because it's a win-win. If parent is taking the day off from work, they don't have to hire a babysitter. They bring their kids with them. Their kid tells them how they're doing in school, so it just works all the way around. This year, our Leadership Day focused on our families as opposed to our community, and it helped us gain a better understanding, help our families gain a better understanding of the Leader in Me work that we do here at school. We have a whole list of events and celebrations that we do. The student leaders that are sitting behind me will they won't touch on all of them, but they'll touch on a couple of things that they feel are very, very important. I want you to also note that many of the events that we do at our school are created by and for students, and that's sort of a new thing. Our students really have a voice, and now you will hear their voice. Thank you. Before I go, I want to introduce, I don't know if I did I introduce you yet? Can you stand up? Ms. Gallimore, she is our new assistant principal. We are very, very happy to have her. She started with us, went someplace else, and we reeled her back in. So it is a win-win for the City School District of Albany. Thank you. Stand up. Take a couple of steps forward.
Good evening. My name is Elvira Mabiga Masunga, and I am president of the Student Lighthouse team. Welcome to Pine Hills Elementary School, where we learn, lead, and change the world. We would like to share some of the activities and events at Pine Hills that make our school a special place. Before we begin, we will introduce our student leaders.
My name is Kayliana Harris. I'm in 3rd grade and I'm a classroom representative.
My name is Angelique Andrews. I'm in 5th grade and I'm a student leader.
My name is Alyssa Rochelle and I am in 3rd grade and I am the vice president of Pine Hills Elementary Student Lighthouse team.
My name is Jasad Thompson and I am in 3rd grade and I am a class representative.
My name is Emmett McCallum. I'm the secretary
of the Student Lighthouse team, and I'm in 3rd grade.
My name is Marcus Andrews. I am in 5th grade, and I am a student representative.
My name is Tanaya Quarterman. I am in 5th grade, and I am a student leader.
My name is Tani Sapirisi. I'm in 3rd grade, and I'm a class representative.
Meet the Teacher Night and Ice Cream Social. This year, we decided to synergize and combine two school favorites, Meet the Teacher Night and a back-to-school ice cream social. This created a win-win because parents are able to obtain information about what their students will be learning this year. And we were able to enjoy a night of eating ice cream and socializing with our friends. Everyone had a great time.
Leadership Day. Every year we open our doors so that others can learn about leadership work. This year we did it a little different. We invited our families to come in and learn about our leadership work in the classrooms. What is so special about Leadership Day is that every student has the opportunity to lead on that day. Leadership assemblies. Every month we have a leadership assembly. This is an opportunity for everyone in the school to get together and learn more about this, one of the 7 habits that we practice here at Pine Hills. What we learn on that day is organized and presented by students.
Cultural celebrations. As a part of our school tradition, we celebrate our diversity in many ways. Every October, we have a multicultural festival. In February, we celebrate African American history. This is a wonderful opportunity to learn more about each other, our cultural traditions and beliefs that make us all unique.
STEAM Night and Literacy Night. We enjoy having activities after school in which our families come together and we all learn together. STEM Night, STEAM Night, and Literacy Night provides the opportunities for us all to learn side by side.
At Pine Hills, we are global citizens. 2 years ago, we completed our well project in Tanzania for the Wangozo Primary School as part of our school-wide service learning project. After the completion of a well, faculty and staff contributed to building a classroom with a matching donor, creating 2 additional classrooms for the Wangozo Primary School in Tanzania. Our small act of providing a well for a school of 660 plus students inspired others to join the cause. As a result, the school went from 3 classrooms to now 7 classrooms. The number of bathroom facilities increased, and the school was able to create an economic base through their garden and goats that they raise. They now have money to buy needed school supplies. This all started with our well project.
The Agenda Project. This year, the students in 4th and the 5th grade went deeper in the work around habit number 2, begin with the end in mind, and habit number 3, put first things first. Each student made a commitment to use their plan books in a more detailed way to learn how to manage academic commitments with social commitments. Each student had individual plan book consultations with Ms. Sanders. This provided students feedback on how to improve their planning skills. Students became more proficient at planning their week to meet the needs of their academic and social life. We all increased our skills in managing our time and completing tasks in a timely manner.
One of the things we do here at Pine Hills is encourage students to have a voice in the direction of policies and activities for our school. For example, Ms. Sanders, our principal, listened to my idea about creating a STEP team. My first task in creating the STEP team was to speak to our students to see who would be interested. Next, I wrote a checklist of things I had to do. Then I wrote my ideas and reasons why we needed a STEP team so we could present it to the principal. Once I presented it to the principal, she helped us come together to produce the Blue Diamond STEP team of Pine Hills Elementary School.
Kids Night and Tween Night. For the last 3 years, we have celebrated Tween Night. This is an event in the evening that students in grades 3 to 5 earn. The night consists of music, dancing, and games.
This year, the Student Lighthouse team wanted to create a more inclusive event in which all students could attend. We created, designed, and coordinated the first annual Kids Night, for kids, by kids. It was a huge success. Thank you for listening to our presentations, and we hope that you enjoyed learning about Pine Hills. Have a good night.
Madam President, members of the board, that concludes the superintendent's report. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanders, so very much. That was a wonderful, wonderful presentation, and the students were exceptional. Such a delight. Just give me a moment. I'm going to go grab the public comment sign-in sheet. Oh, while I'm reading it. Matt's got it. Okay, great. The Albany Board of Education welcomes district residents, parents, students, and other people to our meeting. We appreciate community input about the decisions we are making. In addition to accepting comments during the public comment period, we also accept comments by email, phone, or postal mail. While you are making your remarks, please keep in mind that by law, information about individual students and specific district staff cannot be shared. Every student and every staff member deserves to know that concerns about them will not be aired in public. Also, please keep in mind that public comment is not the best place to first alert the district to a concern you have. Please share your concerns first with relevant staff, such as the teacher or principal. If you feel the concern is not addressed adequately, you may appeal to that person's supervisor up the chain of command, if necessary, to the superintendent. Decisions made by the superintendent may be appealed to the board. Finally, please note that the board generally does not respond during the public comment period. If you need a response, please consider contacting us by email, phone, or postal mail. When I recognize you, please state your name and city of residence. Statements are restricted to a maximum of 3 minutes. You will be given a 1-minute notice and a 10-second notice by the secretary, Ms. Smith, and I will notify you if your time has expired. Ms. Campbell-Beezer.
Good afternoon. Hi, my name is Lori Campbell-Beezer. I'm a resident of Albany, but I'm also a parent. I'm asking the board just to please, if you could look at your concussion policy. A student got injured. I'm going to go there and just say, when a child gets injured, please look at when they go unconscious, that 911 is automatically called. So I really beg of you to do that. When a child is unconscious, that 911 should automatically be called with an injury. That's as simple as I can put it without going into any violation. So thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Ms. Campbell-Beezer. Ms. Smith, Nolene Smith.
Good evening. I have 2 concerns and 2 requests from the board. I would like to ask the board to consider open up Montessori to be more accessible to the people living in the South End. I've heard time and time again from this board and various members of the board that accept the fact that Montessori was not designed for upper and middle class children. Was designed, the model is for poor children to catch up and close achievement type gaps and get more engaged. Currently, white students makes up between 19 and 20% of the school district, yet they make up almost 60% of Montessori. I ask you that as a board, you consider giving clear direction to the superintendents and staff to make this change so that all children can benefit. There are some things that are in place, including the fact that kids come in at pre-K and you do not allow, there's a half-mile radius and then no transportation, which starts to deplete the number of students that can get open enrollment or lotteried into Montessori. So I ask that the board consider that greatly and make concerted effort to change that policy or to remedy that policy that the right people can be, all students can be benefited. My second one kind of leads into the same thing. It's the issue of children with disabilities, children with IEP. If they're in a certain school and that school cannot provide the IEP service that they need, they then have to move to another school, which leave their siblings behind, and then parents have to choose. Right, so I mean, we have poor people in our community, they don't have cars, they're struggling with different kids, and yet these kids are separated, and parents have to struggle to figure out how to manage 2 and 3 schools for the vulnerable people that are not able to even access their regular school. So I ask you to consider these 2 things and make some real gut-wrenching decisions around how we deal with these kinds of issues for children, okay? Thank you.
Thank you, Smith. Ms. Chappell?
Good evening. I'm Ashley Chappell. I'm a physical education teacher at Albany High School, and I also work in the athletics department currently. And I just wanted to let the board know or become more aware of, as well as the parents and the children here, that we're doing our first ever sports program at the end of June. It's going to be from 8 to 5. We're going to teach them or introduce some kids and challenge some others in the sports of football, basketball, lacrosse, and swimming and diving. These are some of our sports that are in need of children and skill development, so we figured the earlier we start, the better off we will be in terms of building our athletics program and to compete at the varsity level in the Suburban Council. This camp will run from 8 to 5 at Myers Middle School. We will have access to all of those facilities. So I'm hoping that we can continue to spread the word, and I ask that you share in your neighborhoods and in your schools as well. And any parents here, I've left some flyers over there. We really want to offer this opportunity to kids, and hopefully next year we can spread out to the other sports as well to get kids involved. Last week I went to Arbor Hill to hand out flyers, and there was not a single kid in sight. Not at the basketball courts, at the new courts, which is like the mecca of basketball in Albany. There's not a kid at the softball field or the little baseball field. I found 4 kids down playing by Arbor Hill Elementary School that happen to be high school kids. So our kids need the opportunity to play sports and be introduced to sports. And I think that, and I tell the coaches, you know, we say the district needs to do something, and I'm like, we are the district. So we're trying to take the first step in providing these opportunities to the children in Albany, which happen to be some of my family members and many of the coaches' family members as well. So any support that you can provide in helping us get the word out is greatly appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chappell. Christina Cummings?
Hello, my name is Christina Cummings. Can you hear me?
Ms. Cummings, please put the switch on the mic. It's on top of the mic, on the very top. Just pull it towards you. And
Hello?
great, terrific, thank you.
Okay, thank you. My name is Christina Cummings. I'm an OASIS volunteer at Arbor Hill School, and I will be continuing that next year. In the last couple of months, in talking about the situation with middle schools and Arbor Hill and North Albany School, I took a ride through North Albany one day, and I just had some thoughts, and that's all this is. It's an idea. And the idea, and everything starts with an idea. I could really see North Albany School as a middle school. It's not the most perfect choice, but it is a decent choice. What I saw in my ride is that and I have known people in North Albany all my life, but you see things in a different perspective. I could see it as a small town, and indeed the principal said, we are really very separated from everybody else. She said that at one of the meetings. It's separated sort of physically from other neighborhoods. Anyway, in riding around, I had this thought, and it's simply an idea. What if the North Albany present school was a middle school, and somehow it was possible to build another elementary school in North Albany? That would solve a whole lot of issues. It wouldn't solve money, but it would solve a lot of things, because one of the things that the principal said that day is that we're not a neighborhood school anymore. So I just wanted to say that and put it out there as a thought. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Cummings. Aaron Clay, I can't read the last name. First name, Aaron? Oh, no. Oh, I'm sorry. Ms. Klein, I actually skipped right over you. I apologize. Thank you.
That's okay. Pen wasn't working. I would like to first off second what was said by the first speaker. Concussions are a very serious matter, especially if someone goes unconscious. So I just want to second that. I think the school district, school board, whatever, should really put in some policies. Secondly, to get into my main point, Ramadan Mubarak. When a topic comes up for discussion and a follow-up is promised or suggested, and that follow-up doesn't happen, is it apathy or is it forgetfulness? I'm going to find that out tonight. April 26th, I came into this meeting to speak about the school calendar. It wasn't on the agenda. No one of the handful of people I knew I was talking about, I had planned to speak on in support of recognizing Eid as a school holiday. Now, I understand that not every holiday for every religion can be honored or celebrated or recognized or as a day off for the school. I get that. But when we have Christmas gets a week, not Christians get 2 holidays, Christmas gets a week, and you can't recognize Eid, you can't recognize anything other than the 2 Jewish holidays, which I have nothing against celebrating the 2 Jewish holidays, 2 Christian holidays, I have nothing against celebrating that. But when you have a discussion that was admittedly a 5-2 vote, okay, democratic process, it's not recognized this year. But there was a discussion suggested to reach out to the Islamic community, and that evidently is not going to happen. Well, I'm not going to not let that happen. This was apparently the second year that that topic came up for discussion, and it was just let go. It was swept under the rug. Like I said, no one of the handful of people knew what I was talking about. So I went back. I listened to the minutes. Thank you for uploading those, by the way. March 15th, 2 hours, 31 minutes, 32 seconds. I advise you to go back and listen to that. I won't name names here, but someone said, April 26th, let's discuss this again. Let's reach out to the Islamic community. Let's find out what can be done. Well, I'm telling you, I said I will determine if it's forgetfulness or it's apathy. You have all commented my commitment coming to these meetings. I will be back in 2 weeks, and I will find out if it's apathy or forgetfulness. Assalamu alaikum.
Aaron, and again, I do apologize what the second name is. I believe the first name is Aaron. Somebody signed up? No? Ms. Flowers, Sonia Flowers.
Good evening. My name is Sonia Flowers, and I am APSU, better known as Albany Public School United Employees Union President, and we would like to thank the board as well as the district for making our transition with our contract, selling it. We'd appreciate it, and the transition was very smooth. We commend the district with working with us. This is my first year as the president, and it was very smooth, and I do appreciate it. Thank you.
Ms. Flowers, thank you and your organization and the union for coming every day and taking care of our students, and for your dedication and for stepping up and becoming president this year. So thank you so much on behalf of the whole board.
Thank you.
That concludes public comment. Routine consent. May I get a motion, Ms. Wilson, to adopt routine consent, seconded by Ms. Smith? Any set-asides? Ms. Lang.
Healthy in a hurry?
Okay, hang on. I'm going to find the number tonight.
K.
K?
Yeah, K.
Great. Any other set-asides? Seeing none, all those in favor of adopting routine consent other than K, healthy in a hurry? That is unanimous. Thank you. May I get a motion to adopt K, healthy in a hurry? Ms. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Smith. Any discussion? Ms. Lang.
I just wanted to clarify, it says in the comments that it's going to serve 570 students after school. And I was just wondering how that was going to happen, or what the plan was.
Ms. Bechtel? Superintendent, whoever wants to go.
Ms. Bechtel, go ahead.
I actually don't have too much to add. I think that we'll need to go back and check in with Mr. Chaffee. I suspect that this is out of the community schools funds and will take place at the community schools and probably address either the children in the after-school program or perhaps something to do with summer school, but we need to get more specific details.
I will fill in with, it has to do with all of the students enrolled at Toast. And so that's how it's going to address that many students, because it's every student that's enrolled, and it's partnered with PE Health, so every student would be exposed.
The measurables, it says to increase after-school programs and support. So it doesn't say during school, which is my confusion.
It's going to be a balance. It'll be a balance, because every student is not going to be required to stay after school.
Any more discussion? All those in favor of adopting K, routine consent? And that appears to be unanimous. Thank you so much. We are now up to number 6, which is the action certifying the Canvas. And I just quickly moved past there. Give me a moment. May I get a motion to adopt the certified tally of the Canvas that is attached as item number 6? Ms. Smith, seconded by Ms. Wilson. All those in favor of adopting? And that is unanimous. Thank you very, very much. And that is just a formal adoption of what at the last board meeting we did speak about, which was the passage of both the budget, the referendum, and the library's budget. And although the names of the 3 board members who will take office in July are listed in there, it won't be until next year that actually we do the actual certification and running of our own election. So thank you so much. We're up to discussion and action on policy, and I'm going to turn that over to Ms. Savage as chair of the committee.
So we're acting today on 2 policies. One, a very minor change to the credit card policy, increasing the limits to allow some more flexibility for the superintendent and Mr. Hogan as they're booking conferences and travel for staff. And then the second policy we will act on is 4772 graduation ceremonies. This is a new policy newly required by education law, and it allows, which we have always done as a practice anyway, students who are achieving certain criteria that is not technically a high school diploma, but it is still a terminal degree for high school, to cross the platform as if they were graduating. And so we have those 2 policies. We talked about them 2 weeks ago, and I put them forward for discussion and adoption.
Ms. Savage, do you want to take them one at a time, the actions, or you want to combine the 2 actions? Can I get a motion to adopt the 2 policies that we're acting on? Dr. Chatoor, and seconded by Ms. Roach. All those in favor? That is unanimous. Ms. Savage, the policy discussion.
So there are two policies that we're bringing to you for the first time tonight. Policy 1741, which is home instruction. You may recall relatively recently we did homebound instruction. Those are two different policies. Homebound instruction is for a student who's medically challenged and can't get to school. 1741, home instruction, is what we would normally think of as homeschooling instruction. And there was some unclarity in the policy where the same words were used in two different sentences. And this amendment just clarifies what we have always done in practice, that students instructed at home may not participate in school-sponsored activities. The second one we will discuss tonight, that I'm presenting for discussion tonight, is 4710 grading system. This should sound very familiar because at September 15th, 2016, we made this change to the grading policy for Albany High, where we modified the policy so that the minimum quarterly amount counted as a 55% instead of a 50%, and the main reason behind that is that if you are a student who is succeeding over the course of a year, if you get two 50s and then you get two 75s, you fail the class. But if you get two 55s and two 75s, you're showing significant improvement, and then you would pass the class. And we made this change in 2016, but we only made it on a one-year basis as part of the receivership program, and the high school has asked us to implement this as an ongoing change, and so that is the two that I have in front of you for discussion today.
Discussion, Ms. Roach.
I just wanted to clarify, because until you've refreshed my memory, I was thinking when you say the minimum quarterly grade 55, that was the minimum passing grade. To be fair, to my understanding is now that 55 is a failing grade, but it's also the lowest grade you can get, no matter how poorly you perform.
That's correct.
Any more discussion right now? Okay, seeing none, we will put this over for June 21st for action, Ms. Savage.
I had another
no, Ms. Roach, please.
I just wanted to ask, is just the home instruction one, is that typical for districts not to allow homeschooled students to participate in activities? Is that the standard?
Yes, that seems to be typical. We talked about this at fairly considerable length with PPS staff, and it is so typical in the area that it's not something that they have a lot of conversations with. They don't get a lot of homeschool families contacting us to say, can we? It's just not part of the practice.
Okay, thanks.
And I just want to add that we specifically asked that question, were we having families coming to us, and they have had none.
Any more discussion? We will move these on for June 21st for action. We are now up to our discussion with regard to the academic program and curriculum review for world languages. I know you're looking at me, but I'm not that talented. Boom. Andre, could you see if their mic
Hello.
is...
Got it. Good evening, Board of Education. I am very pleased to be here tonight with Mr. Robert Smealy, who is the Chinese teacher and world language chair at the high school and the chair for the middle school as well. I have to start our presentation with letting everybody know that Mr. Smealy is actually retiring. And so I just want to celebrate him for a minute. Since I have interacted with him the last several years, he has just been so wonderful to work with, so passionate and caring about his world language program, about Chinese, and really committed to education and committed to Albany High School and the district, and it really has been a pleasure, Bob. It's still me.
Oh, that's
yes, it's still me. Okay, I am only taking one slide here tonight, and it is the first one. I just want to remind the Board of Education why we're here tonight. We adopted several years ago a 5-year cycle of review for our curricular programs. This is a way to sort of be consistent in how we're approaching review, revision, analysis of our curriculum in a systematic way. At the end of every year one, which is really the review year, the idea is to come and tell the board what it is that we found from the review and where we're going next in this process. We're reaching the end of our cycle of review process, and I think next year will be year 5, and so then we need to sort of recreate a new cycle. It's been an interesting process because we're really looking closely at the written curriculum, which is not to say, sometimes as you'll hear in this presentation, some things are underdeveloped. It doesn't mean that there isn't a curriculum, it means that there isn't a written curriculum. And a written curriculum allows for consistency across the content area, across the subject, and allows us to, well, really, it's really about consistency. So we are in year 1 for world language and math. The math presentation, I believe, will take place in August. Tonight's presentation will focus on world language, and I'm going to turn it over to Bob.
Buenas noches. Me llamo Roberto Smiley, soy profesor de chino y el director del Departamento de Lenguas. Je suis enchanté de faire vos connaissances et je suis aussi enchanté de venir ici ce soir. 我也非常高兴来这里给你们外文系报告。So, as you can see on the chart to your left, or my right, this indicates the progressions of all of our world language courses. The green color indicates the middle school level, which ends in a proficiency exam, commonly called Checkpoint A, and this is required of all students in New York State for graduation. If students pass the proficiency exam, they proceed into language level 2, and this is indicated by the arrows that move from level 8 into the second year of a foreign language. So kids go directly from language, what's called language 8, into the first year, or second year in high school. Language years 1 through 3 in the orange, that's the high school regents level. This level is commonly known as Checkpoint B. Also the Regents exam level, which is after the 3rd year in French 3, Chinese 3, and Spanish 3. When they pass the Checkpoint B exam, they garner their credit for an advanced Regents diploma in New York State. The blue area, the high school, is the Checkpoint C, which is the college level IB, AP, SUNY credit-bearing courses in which students can gain anywhere from 3 credits in Spanish to up to 5 credits in Mandarin Chinese. So who are we? We're 19 people, wonderful people, by the way. And our language faculty reflects the whole diversity of the cultures of the world. We hail from Nicaragua. I myself speak German natively, from Mexico, Venezuela, and elsewhere. The thing that drives each and every one of us is that we are driven to inspire creativity and the willingness of our students to be able to communicate with others throughout the world. I always tell my Chinese students that I'm here to help them become very intrepid linguistic explorers. And I think we're well on the way to completing that mission. As you can see on the chart, almost all middle school students take a foreign language, and this is because of the New York State requirement. And about 1/3 of Albany High School students continue their study at the high school level. And we hope to increase those numbers. Now, because we have very concrete ACTFL standards, ACTFL being the American Council on Teaching Foreign Languages, and as well as the New York State standards, which are tested at all 3 checkpoints along the way, we are pleased to offer the district the best Regents passing rates on Regents level exams. And we've done so since I've been around in the late 80s, early 90s. It's expected that in 2020, the Secure Regents exams are going to be, again, required by New York State. And we look forward to helping Albany High School boost its overall test score average in a measurable way. And with district support for our department, we will make that happen. We're eyeballing, some of you might notice that large jump in the Spanish Checkpoint A proficiency passing rate. This is a very happy anomaly. We're not quite sure why that happened, but we're going to keep an eye on that number. See if we can replicate that. So the purpose. Our department has the unique advantage of being able to accommodate all learners, regardless of their special ed status. And this is one thing we really enjoy. We don't really look at a child's special ed status because in a language class, everyone's starting out at a very basic level, colors, numbers. And we really work to create an atmosphere in which all language learners can experience success. We hold that everyone starts at the same level, and we recognize as well that learners do learn at a different pace. And as we work through all of our curriculum, we also make sure that it agrees with the New York State standards, and we in fact use even the more robust national standards set forth by ACTFL. So Karen alluded to the process already, so I'm not going to elaborate too much on this, but we do use, as I mentioned, those standards as a barometer for student achievement. And our review team looked at each world language course, and there's a hefty amount of them compared to many other departments. As a matter of fact, the full report ran to 104 pages, so we had to truncate it a little bit. But we looked at each course in depth to ensure the correct scope, sequence, and to ensure alignment. So what did we find? Well, one of the first things we found was that some faculty were confusing theme and skill-based curricula with basing Rubicon on a textbook. And we noticed this early, about in December, I would think, and I was the building leadership team one day, and Jen Houlihan happened to mention that, I believe his name was Tom Herc from Rigorous Curriculum Design, was going to come in and was available for work. So we had him come in, and the whole language department sat down, and we went through the whole rigorous curriculum design again. It was wonderful. This man makes it seem like curriculum is the easiest thing in the world. I mean, it was fascinating. We really enjoyed it. And I think that now we've cleared up some of those misunderstandings, and some of those courses will be tweaked. Most of these courses should be done by the end of the summer. We also found we need to expend a bit more effort to differentiate in level 1 classes. So as to avoid repetition, we want to expand our repertoire of differentiating tasks to help all those retaking level 1, those kids who don't pass the proficiency and then retake the first year in high school. We want to differentiate it more so that we're not repeating the same thing over and over, that we're treating that same material in different ways. We also discovered the need for a more seamless alignment for the entering dual language program students, as well as our native and heritage speakers, and the pathway that they take into the secondary level. Although the middle school transitions program has addressed this, and Ruth has been doing a fabulous job with that, there is some more work that needs to be done in this area. Finally, we know that there is a lack of elementary world language programming, and we know that all research indicates that language needs to start in kindergarten. Now for the good stuff. Well, what we do, for the most part, we do well. And I'm going to repeat the fact that we consistently offer you the best Regents level scores on a yearly basis compared to many other of the core academic disciplines. And we're proud of that, so I'm going to keep repeating it. Our upper level classes are mostly very well developed, and these curricula are dictated by AP and the IB syllabus, as well as the SUNY syllabi. The other thing I think we can all be proud of here is the fact that we are the only school district in this area, as far as I know, which has a policy that we adopted as a department, which is a firm commitment to the ACTFL standard that we use 90% of the target language in instruction in the classroom. We don't always meet this goal, but this is something that's always in front of our face. This is something we always try to do every day. We think, target language, target language, target language. As a matter of fact, most of us language teachers, we disperse over the summer to the 4 points of the globe to immerse ourselves in the various languages we teach. This year, for example, 2 of us are going to France, we're going to Spain, Nicaragua, La República Dominicana, China, Puerto Rico, and beyond to work on our language skills. Oh, there we go. The very first thing on our curricular enhancements, as a discipline, we're very fortunate to be able to have a wide variety of things available to us to sort of make our discipline come alive. This year, we saw the successful inception of the New York State Seal of Biliteracy, which is a physical seal affixed to someone's diploma, and it indicates their proficiency at the intermediate mid-level, according to the ACTFL standards, in English and 1 other language. This year, we had 1 person do it in Italian and English. The other person completed all the requirements. We're just waiting on an English test score, and she is going to receive hers in English and Spanish. For next year's palette, we're very excited. We have children who are going to approach this in Spanish, French, Arabic, English, and American Sign Language. Google Expeditions, all teachers department-wide in May, we've been trained on something called Google Expeditions, which is a virtual reality software. It's a static virtual reality software in which students can see 3D images in a 360-degree area, and your teacher can take you on tours of different places. During Chinese New Year, for example, I took my students for a little trip across the Great Wall, and in France, in French class, we went to, I believe, Haiti, which was absolutely fascinating. In addition, we offer assemblies in Chinese opera, French club moose contests, salsa lessons, Chinese New Year's banquets, and more. We also offer the French Honor Society, Société Nationale de Français, and next year we're instituting the National Chinese Honor Society, and perhaps the Spanish one. We're currently discussing that with our Spanish faculty. So where do we go from here? The first thing, teacher collaboration for curriculum development. The majority of our staff have agreed to work the last week of June as well as in July to really pound out the curriculum and really set that vertical alignment and track. And we hope, it's hoped, we didn't get all the hours we wanted, but it's hoped that by the end of the summer we should have most of that work accomplished. We also would like to extend the elementary world language offerings. As I said, the research shows you need to start in elementary school. And there are certain possibilities for the introduction of languages in elementary schools that do not require the immense amount of fiscal help that one might think. For example, the Chinese government has lots of money to put towards this. There's a Confucius Institute at SUNY we're currently looking at partnering with, and they can offer a lot of material assistance as well as teacher assistance from China. And talking with the French teachers, they indicated there's also, there are those kinds of programs as well for French. Spanish for native speakers class, this is something we've been trying to get into our curriculum, to get filled. This course has been in the course book for ever since I've been there, and it's never been enrolled. We have, technically, according to the ESL figures, we have about 65 native Spanish speakers. Now, I think that there are more than that when you include heritage speakers and you include dual language schools students who might fit a course such as this. And we would like to move some of those kids from the Spanish 3 classes to try to get them into Spanish for native speakers, to hone their skills and let them take the AP exam. All recent research shows that if you increase someone's literacy in a second language, you're going to have a concomitant increase in their English skills, which will do only good things for our scores and getting out of receivership at the high school. Technology and the AHS Rebuild Plan, I think, sort of go hand in hand. There's a language lab that is going to be on the 3rd floor, I believe, above the library, where all the language classrooms are going to be located. So this sort of indicates the need for language lab training and further use in Google Expeditions, even more stuff that we can integrate to make languages and the cultures of the world really come alive for our students. Finally, significant support and resources are going to be needed to sustain and grow world language programs, particularly Chinese. I had planned on saying earlier this week when I was preparing this that Chinese was in intensive care. Now I'm going to move that because I believe we're going to put the Chinese into the middle schools. I'm absolutely thrilled that we're finally putting it in the middle school. So all 3 languages will be represented and we'll have a feeder. So now I'd like to say that maybe we're in intensive care, but we're moving up, but minority languages that are lower enrollment languages, such as Chinese and French, do need a certain amount of TLC and care to expand and grow. It's my pleasure to give you this really quick report. I'm usually more verbose than this, but I would love to entertain any questions that you have.
Well, I want to commend you. It's the first time you've come, even though you're about to retire, and you are 20 seconds to spare. So
that's why I was sort of reading.
That was just tremendous. So you can come back anytime.
Okay, thank you.
I'll start. Ms. Roach, do you want me to start? I was going to start with your side unless you... is that okay?
No, that's fine. I don't have any questions right now. I'm sure I will for the next round.
Ms. Lang.
I was going to ask about the Honor Society, and you alluded to that we may have all 3 have society. And also, I know that there are national tests as well. Does our school participate in those that are outside?
We have. Well, first let me address the honor societies. The French Honor Society, Madame Edson and Madame Holland do an absolutely phenomenal job with that. They had a beautiful induction ceremony the other day. And the requirements for all language honor societies are pretty much similar. We are going to institute, I can guarantee you that we're going to start the Chinese Honor Society next year. As a matter of fact, today we addressed the Spanish Honor Society to the Spanish teachers, and we're currently trying to drum up some support or enthusiasm for an advisor to push that forward. But it's our hope that we'll have all 3. As for the language exams, we always offered the National French exam. We did not this year. I think Madame Edson had so much on her plate that it was something had to give, and unfortunately I think that was one of them. Actually putting together tests like that require an enormous amount of coordination and staffing, and with a new principal and everything, it was kind of hard to configure this year. But certainly in the future, I think it's very valuable to give those national tests. I know that in the past, Marie Guagliardo-Day did the French test every year. And it's nice, it gives the students a chance to prove what they have learned and perhaps even earn scholarships to travel, go to France, Quebec.
Dr. Chator.
communication is one of those basic necessities for humans.
Yes.
And so knowing more than one language is such a valuable thing, and I'm so happy that we're offering all these opportunities to our young kids. But I want to go one step further, you know. Why are we learning these languages? Are we learning them just because we can communicate, or are we thinking further and saying this world is, you know, jobs are everywhere, it's a globe, you know, we want to compete with the rest of the world and be able to take every opportunity that's there. And having said that, are we thinking in terms of like capstone projects for the high school students where we are not just taking language at the language level, but integrating that with, let's say, business skills or science skills or something like that, where that can be applied in a different language? You know, so it's making them think in both subjects at a little higher level.
I think that's one of the basic functions of the Seal of Biliteracy. The particular projects that someone may present to us may not have anything to do with that particular language or its culture, for example. Someone might do a report on immigration, but yet their report could be in Arabic or Farsi or Urdu. It just depends. Certainly in our classes, all of us teachers constantly remind the students that people who learn a foreign language earn more money. That's a guaranteed fact, it's a statistic. We always introduce them to the different kinds of jobs, aside from teaching, that involve languages and cultural knowledge. So there are all of those different ways. Also, on our overseas trips, we take overseas trips every year. And that's also a wonderful way for them to really integrate their language and start getting a feel for that sort of cultural communication that needs to take place.
Ms. Wilson.
Thank you for your years of service. Happy retirement.
Thank you.
So taking, because Shradar's question is essentially my question, but I want to take it that much further. I do see world languages as it relates to your CV as an individual, especially for people who would have achievement gap disparities. And I see it as an opportunity to increase someone's social mobility as they enter. So that's his line of questioning is my line of questioning, and as it relates to offsetting those disparities that we can have with our children, maybe increasing their mobility. And I did like the capstone idea, but I was even thinking in terms of you know, career paths and things that can align. Like we have increased need for interpretation because of our more interconnected world and things along.
One of the largest areas that's growing is something like court interpretation is becoming very important. There's a large need for interpreters. Interpreting is a real skill, one which unfortunately I don't possess, but it's something that can be learned and is very valuable.
President Adler, if I may, just to address both of your questions and just to kind of give you a little background with where we are headed with this. I did talk to Karen because one of the things that in looking at our foreign languages, some of the numbers were going down. And when you look at building a program, you can't start in the 9th grade trying to build a program that's viable. And so when you look at those pathways for success for our students, we want to make sure that we are starting at the elementary level and so that students gain those skills early, and then we reinforce them in middle school and then expose them to it in the high school so that they can go on to higher levels. So now we have a pathway for foreign languages. The bigger piece, which is if you think about our goals and how we are looking at student achievement and of course partnering with our community, when we look at having our students college and career ready, the data and the research that we use to start looking at that pathway of foreign languages directly relates to where students of today will be tomorrow, the jobs that they are going into in the future. And I cannot emphasize it enough. We are a global society. So we have to start exposing our students at earlier ages to multiple languages, because regardless of what they will try to do, they will have an advantage when they know more than one language. If they choose to go into law, many times, we have attorneys around the room, they will need to be able to speak more than one language depending on what they choose to do, especially if they choose to go into corporate law. We are in an area that is right across the river from New York City. Many of our students may choose to have jobs in that area, or they may choose to come back here. But so that they can be competitive in the real world, not only in college, but also in careers, foreign languages are almost a necessity for them to move forward. And so staying true to our vision, to our mission, and to our goals with making sure that our students are college and career ready, world languages, foreign languages, developing our students from elementary, middle, and high school is essential to that process.
I agree.
Ms. Smith.
Yes, I'd like to thank you also for your work, all the years you've put in, and I'm sure the students are very, they will miss you.
Thank you for
as
your
we
kind
leave.
words.
I also wanted to just express my excitement about the extension to elementary. My daughter was exposed at 3 years of age to French and Chinese, and then that was in like nursery school. It was really wonderful. And then brought her into public school, so there was this gap, right?
Right.
And I could see at that nursery level just how she would eat it up, you know, like a sponge. And so I always kind of regretted that I didn't have that next sort of level.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's actually physical. It's your brain synapses are still forming at that time. So a lot of it is actually biological. It's biologically easier for one to learn when one is small, before those neural pathways get more settled.
Exactly. And so I really,
you're right.
I was grateful for the exposure. And I think the other thing that I saw in her, while she hasn't actually, she's done Spanish, you know, done what she needed to do, and she hasn't actually grasped to take a language, you know, for other purposes, but travel and wanting to see the world, languages introduced her to the world. And so she is, you know, graduating from Albany High and
wonderful,
ready to, I think her next trip, she wants it to be to Japan.
Great.
So, but anyway, I just wanted to just echo the importance, I think, too, of starting early for our kids.
Wow, that's wonderful.
Ms. Savage.
Thank you for your service and for your excellent presentation. Towards the end of your presentation, you talked about needing TLC especially for French and Chinese. And my question is, are we staffed properly to give the World Languages program, which I think includes dual, right? I think dual is tracked through World Languages, not through ENL, because we didn't hear about dual very much when we heard the ENL report, but we're hearing about it today, so I'm thinking that's where it falls. So my question is, are we staffed properly to give TLC as needed to our World Languages, including dual?
As far as staffing goes, I'd have to defer to administration because I don't deal as much with staffing, but
our staffing is really enrollment driven. As you know, the students, when they pick in the spring the courses that they would like to take, are actually the winter. That is actually what drives it. And in fact, we've increased French at the high school this year. That enrollment has gone up. I thought it was by 2 sections, but I heard something else that it might only be 1. But originally, my understanding is 2 full sections of students for French. And that might mean there might be less kids in Spanish, I'm not sure. So it is enrollment driven. We build our schedule based upon what the students want to take and how we market and advertise our programs. I think it's great that we're going into Ed O'Neill with the Chinese because we'll get that there. Yep.
We did take surveys at O'Neill with regard to the students in order to determine the language, and that's where we were able to implement Chinese at O'Neill.
And just to clarify my question,
And yes,
I
we
wasn't
do have the
talking
staff.
specifically, I'm sorry.
I said, and yes, we have accommodated the staffing.
And I wasn't talking about staffing, meaning teachers, right? Teachers are giving TLC to students. I'm talking about the TLC for the program, the thinking about the whole program, making sure that we're doing the marketing and the recruiting that we need to, the making sure that we're doing that encouraging of children to participate and handling these transitions that you've talked about. That's what I meant by the TLC for the program, not for the students. Of course, I trust and know that all of our teachers are giving students TLC.
Would you like me to respond to that a little further? You know, it's interesting that you should say that foreign language is the only area that we have anymore that still has a little .2 chair. And Bob has gone so far above and beyond in his work. We're not really certain who his successor will be. And that's something that you'll find when we get to the music presentation, is that sort of that leadership and over that. It's not, and it has no reflection on the passion and commitment of the teachers, but they're working, you know, five classes a day. And I think, given that, they've done an excellent job, but there is an issue there. I think you're right about it.
So I can go around again or just find out who's got more. Ellen, do you have anything?
No, I actually went to the kind of rough draft of this presentation in the curriculum meeting on Wednesday and asked most of my questions then, so that's why I'm a
Great.
little quieter tonight.
Ms. Lang?
So I was going to ask a little bit more. Is dual language under world languages? And who's not doing the curriculum or doing the curriculum there?
The curriculum development for the dual language program is done by the dual language teachers at Delaware Community School under the leadership of Ken Lane.
But in the notes it said there was no curriculum for dual language?
No, I did not reflect dual language curriculum information in that report. There shouldn't have been. Dual language has actually undergone some really nice changes over the last couple of years with the implementing of their program that actually comes from Puerto Rico, I believe, and is a Spanish text. It's not made for English-speaking kids. And that's one thing. The second thing that we were able to do this year, Ken and I were able to get Ruth Santos Nova de los Santos and Zio Tavares together for a meeting, and that was excellent. I mean, basically these two teachers, the 5th grade teacher and the 6th grade teacher, really should come together systematically once a year or twice a year in order to talk about their assessments, to talk about where the children are and where they can be expected to come into Ruth. And so Ken and I will definitely seek to do
Right, and I
further that.
just want to say that it said aside from DS, there's no elementary curriculum whatsoever. So that was the quote.
Right.
And then you had said earlier in here that perhaps elementary for Chinese and French, which I think is great. Dual language has native Spanish, 50% native Spanish speakers. It wouldn't be obviously set up the same. We don't have 50% French native speakers or Chinese in the district.
Well, Bob's report is his wish list about having language in the elementary buildings. We are still very much in the idea stage about that. Because he's retiring, I said we're going to let him put in his wish list in his report. No, it was important to him to speak about that as a possibility, and so that's why we brought it here today.
And I just need to say one more thing about dual. I think that dual is so important for all of the things that you said, but also because our families can speak with their teachers, whether or not it's cultural, whether or not it's sick time, whether it's not helping with students. And I want to say that that's really the crux of, why that program is so important to our Spanish-speaking families. And I was wondering if we could see if there is data out there of our Spanish speakers, if they are using, that language, because now they have two. Moving on as well. It's great that our English speakers are able to get that brain movement, but our Spanish families, this is a real lifeline, the program there. So I just want to say that that's something very special for our families in the district.
Dr. Chator.
When you were giving your introduction on this presentation, you briefly said something about Arabic. Are you also thinking about? introducing, I mean, we have a whole, and a lot of students who come from Arabic-speaking countries, so.
I believe that Arabic is now larger than Spanish in terms of our ENL population, our Arabic-speaking students. So if it were, and again, we are in the idea stage, we're just bringing this out here, but if we were to propose something that could be modeled on the way that the Spanish dual works, because it would have those native Arabic speakers.
Ms. Wilson?
Again, thank you for your presentation. Thank you both. And I did appreciate learning more about the sign language and such. And in every presentation, there's always a needle in a haystack. And I heard you mention, of course, about delivering the best Regents level scores. So in your view, what do you think can be applied in other subject areas?
That's a good one. I'd really have to think about it. I'd have to think about what is parallel in both. I think we have a lot more leeway in our subject matter because it's living. It's not necessarily learning about historical facts and synthesizing. It's actually maybe cooking something, making an egg roll, doing practical things, but doing it in another language. So I think because it's more hands-on and skills-based, that it just leads to more successful learning.
Ms. Smith? Ms. Savage?
I just wanted to take a moment to comment that we frequently hear from folks in the district that it's frustrating that we change things so often, that so many new things are happening all the time. And I wanted to acknowledge that we are looking at the year 5 of the curriculum phasing cycle, and I really appreciate that commitment to planning it far in advance, following through every year. We're on target, we're delivering what we promised, which is an every 5-year review with a very methodical approach. And I really wanted to call that out because I think it's really important that people realize that, in fact, we are really very consistently applying this over the course of 5 years. So thank you very much for your commitment.
So before I let you go, 'cause we're out of time, but I did want to just, in addition to thanking you for your service, just mention one overall theme in terms of introducing new languages. So we've certainly come a long way from when I first got on the board and we were coming out of the recession and we had a gap elimination. And while we're not fully funded under foundation aid, we still are not getting all that we need. So what I've watched happen over the years, and I just want to sort of point out, it's not so much remind the board, but going forward without, where I won't be speaking about this from this place, is that something always has to give until we're either fully funded foundation aid-wise or until we have no need for proficiency special algebra classes at the high school, because all FTEs come from one big soup. They're not fungible. When we needed a Spanish teacher, which I wonder if that's what the Regents number is, we had a year with a lot of subs and we didn't have a Spanish teacher, so that really impacts a great deal. But it does come from one big soup in terms of the pot of money. So once, people say, I'd like more Chinese, that's great, and if the student drive is there, but then the problem is you may have at that point kids who are sitting in Spanish who need years 3 and 4. And so the delicate balance, the dance we do, is ensuring kids who are in a track that we've started them at middle school with or elementary school are able to finish the track, or they're high and dry without the high school years that they need. And that delicate balance then means that if we're going to add Arabic, which is wonderful, I mean, I think it's all wonderful, then the problem we run into is then what do we do about Chinese? And we've had people 5 years ago come advocate zealously for even more Chinese, but we didn't have the numbers and the students. So I know we all know that, but that is sometimes why it takes us a while as the district in our size and in our demographics to add things that are wonderful, but we do them in a thoughtful, considered way so that we're able to finish the track for people, we're able to meet people's needs, and we're, in a sense, understanding that every dollar we take for that teacher means there's less dollars for others. So thank you for doing that dance well year to year and for making do with what were sometimes very, very lean years during your tenure here, and for seeing, you know, the program grow so much. And I'm thrilled to hear that it's at O'Neill for Chinese, and so thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a good night.
We are now on to the music report. I'm sure someone's joining Ms. Bechtel. Yes. I was going to say, good evening, Ms. Wright.
There you go. Oh, yeah, that's okay. All right. Okay, are we ready? Excellent. Okay, I would, yep, there we go. I would like to introduce tonight Kate Wright, our fine arts supervisor. Here's Kate. Hold on. And then we also have Jerome Robinson, which actually I think Kate's going to give us his bio.
This is Jerome Robinson, and he was a member of our district's music task force, and he's also an advanced orchestra student, and he's also a music production and technology student, and a lacrosse player.
And what year is Mr. Robinson?
Yep, there we go. Junior.
I am a junior.
Thank you. So great. We get you for another whole year. Wonderful.
All right, so I'm going to start with just a little bit of background on the music task force. In 2016, 2017, there were questions that had come up about the diversity in our music program. And so I set myself a task of going out and diving deeply into, you know, what's going on there? And I went to conferences, I attended with music teachers, I learned quite a bit, I spoke with people, I reached out to a variety of folks, and with this question, you know, do we have an issue with disproportionality in our music program, and if so, why? So I put together really just my findings in a report from the variety of sources that I came across, and use that sort of as a springboard to pull this task force together. So we established the music task force in October of 2017. The charge was that, do we have an issue with disproportionality in our music program, and if so, why? We had stakeholders from St. Rose, the music department at St. Rose, SUNY, professors, students, with 2 students on the task force, classroom teachers. It was important to us to have an elementary classroom teacher. We had guidance counselors, elementary and high school principals. Kathy Ryan came. Kathy Ryan is a big supporter of music. She was a marching band student herself at one time. Yes, I hope it's okay. I tell people that. She's actually very proud of her time in marching band. And then the music teachers from all levels and content. And I believe we have one member from our task force in our audience as well. So we met, we scheduled the meetings, we explored the research, we started, as I said, with my little report of my findings, and then dove deeper into other data, and in order to establish findings and then ultimately create an action plan around January 2018, but we've been tweaking it, and now we're here talking to you about it, and we're delighted.
And this committee's work basically surfaced 2 major findings to the question. And the first finding was the diversity in our ensembles decreases as students get older, particularly in the higher level ensembles. And a big possible reason for that, entry-level vocal and orchestra at Albany High School most closely matched district demographic makeup, but with concert band consisting of equal numbers of black and white students, and then at the higher level ensembles are very disparate, with about 20% black participation and 60% white on average. It's something to note that this was really hard work, very challenging to look at something like this straight on and find a way to depersonalize it in order to brainstorm moving forward. And this committee did that work. They did it really well. And the second finding is practices at all levels create obstacles to access and success. So there's lots of reasons for this occurrence. So here's the list. For one, scheduling in transition periods. Students from elementary to middle school, and then middle school to the high school, there's a drop of enrollment, and it's due to multiple reasons. Also, consistent access to instruments, equity in instruments. For example, a student having a 50-year-old trumpet at one school and another student having a brand new one at a different school. And Jerome has a nice story to share about instruments. Or not so nice.
Yeah. Well, I share an instrument with with another student there. We share them. One student in regular orchestra shares an instrument with a student with advanced orchestra, and the problem is with that, if there's miscommunication between those two students, that can really hinder on the student's ability to practice at home, if that's the only instrument that they can use. So that is bad on the students, and you know, I'm finished.
Another obstacle is equitable access to lessons. We know that the ideal is a 1 week per lesson. And in many schools, we know that there's one teacher 1 day a week in some smaller schools. And is there a makeup time opportunity in those schools? We don't want to deny students access to music lessons because of a possible behavior issue. That's known to occur as well. It's something we're going to work on addressing. And the other piece is impact of practice or not practicing on advancement in music. Some kids can't practice at home or can't bring the instrument home to practice. How does that impact our work here? Does content course selection impact student interests? I created a survey for the high school, a quantitative survey and a qualitative at the elementary school, and content and course selection definitely impacts our students' interest. For example, the #1 musical interest genre is hip hop. How are we reflecting that in our program to gain interest? Basically, the takeaway of this is that we need to offer courses that our students are interested in taking, and they may not be traditional.
So after we got done with the findings part of this, we created an action plan and we categorized it to make sense of it. And so our action plan is divided into 4 parts. It's around the lessons and staffing, after-school enrichment and lessons, music program development, and the and process and protocols, which includes a music handbook and some budget, and Kate's going to talk more about this. I do want to mention before we're getting close to the end here, if that's my bell. Oh, I hear a ring. You know, I will say that in the 16-17 budget process, we advocated successfully for a fine arts supervisor, and we hired Kate. She came on board in August of last year, and that was a really key first step to addressing this issue. Besides all the wonderful things that Kate brings to the fine arts as a leader, this particular thing, the processes and procedures and protocols need oversight. And when we don't have oversight over those, that's when we can get into some challenges. So we're very excited that Kate is here, and she'll talk a little bit more about processes and protocols. So that's how we set up the action plan, which you should have in front of you so you can see how that looks. and then we're going to talk about some of the pieces of the action plan. The good thing about this is that there's a problem, but we have some things that we are ready to action and have actioned. So on this slide, we talk about the Albany High School lesson time increase. So in this year, we successfully are going to double the music lesson periods at Albany High School. The elementary and middles are getting the traditional one lesson a week. But at Albany High, and it came a little bit, I think, out of the recession, a little bit about some misunderstanding about how music education works, a little bit of a misunderstanding about the value, and not the value, that the lesson period, we know that you might only have 6 to 8 kids in front of you or 5 kids in front of you, but it's integral to the program. So we were able to correct that, and that is in place for 18-19. So that's a beautiful thing. Based on our numbers, every student in an ensemble should have one lesson period a year. We also talked about after-school lessons and practice time, because we thought about the kids. We have so many kids in after-school programs, right? And so is there a way to work with our community partners, our music partners, to have them come in and provide even just listening to practice time or an additional lesson, whatever it might be. In the action plan, you'll note that we talked about a little budget to pay our own staff to do that work, but we missed the budget process this year to advocate for that, so that would have to wait until next year. So I'm going to turn it over this way. I think Jerome is going to speak about some things.
So next on the points, first-time instrumental students in the high school. Student surveys showing that students are interested in music, but ensembles in the high school are too difficult to just enter in as, a freshman. This can be staffed, after-school lessons can be staffed by volunteers by nearby colleges, and that will help newcomers try and fit in. Restructuring music in our lives. So we have the introduction of a keyboard class to expand music in our lives, because the number one interest, as Kate said, was hip-hop and digital-based music, which is music and technology, which is a next point to strengthen music technology. So keyboarding class can help individuals get a base of knowledge for digital audio workstations. And the last point I'm going to talk about is expanding ensembles. So just to expand the options of ensembles for more diverse groups, we have the proposal for a gospel choir, or gospel ensemble, sorry, to just make the music programs more diverse and attract interest within the music programs.
And second from last is, as Karen mentioned before, developing a handbook with processes and protocols for the program. That handbook's already begun in process before my time through our prior co-chairs, Ed Newell and Josephina Morey. They did tremendous work with the department to set up a handbook. The original intention was for newly hired music teachers, and really just to get a heads up on all the things that they do, because they are very, very busy people and they are involved in lots of things. We wanted to use that as a starting platform, and to build upon that with actual procedures, such as an add-drop music program course that would require sign-offs, procedures for students entering into middle school program and then middle school to high school. There's things that we could be doing that are specifically listed in the action plan that is intended to be included. And then the last one is budget. Thank you very much for supporting music department and the music program here, not only with the lesson expansion, but staffing that's been needed, and also instruments for the recent ability to purchase instruments that are greatly needed. Our numbers look like we have lots of instruments, but many of them are barely functional and very old, and we want every student that wants to take an instrument to feel special. And the other piece of the budget is, with my prior experience with working with the art department, I have come across information and experience realizing that there's inequity in budgets across our schools. And now with music under my realm or wing, it's the same thing. And so one thing that I'd like to just vocalize tonight is that most suburban schools centralize their fine arts budgets. They come from the district office. It's a way to ensure equity among students in schools. And that's proposed here in the action plan, but knowing that's a tremendous amount of purchasing and logistic work, that would also carry with extra office support to make that happen, but I highly recommend it for us.
And I think that ends our presentation, and we are ready for any questions that you might have.
Thank you all very, very much. And I'm going to start with Ms. Wilson, starting on the other side. But what I did want to just say was thank you. So Kate, you came later in terms of into this position, but I want to thank you, and Karen's been doing this for a while, in terms of hitting straight on the issue of racial inequity in our music programs. And it's not a blame game, and it's not a sort of, it was this teacher, or it was that teacher, or it's an administrator. It's just that over the years, it's sort of like the Montessori movement, meaning not the movement of Maria, but the building, where for years the district talks about moving it, and it's still in the same place. And the same thing with the inequity. We know it's been there. We know when we go to concerts what we see, and we know we've had problems from the earliest years all the way up through high school. It's just even clearer at that point. So I understand it takes a lot of courage and a lot of facing difficult conversations and difficult discussions that you've had among yourself, and then the conversation with us. But between the students that you've involved and the staff, it's a conversation that's time has long come. And thank you again on behalf of the board. Everybody else will speak, but thank you for addressing it head on, for doing this work this year, and now being before us so that the board can entertain these issues. Yes, Karen.
I just do want to add, because it's in the report, but we didn't say it here, this is not an Albany problem. This is a national problem. NAFME, the National Association for Music Education, has, they have a diversity statement. They have set people the charge to take on this work. And this is the message that we gave to all the music staff, because our music department staff, very hardworking, they love the kids, they love their content, they're committed to it. It was very hard to get people to depersonalize, because it wasn't about what any one individual did. It's a system that we have to break.
And sometimes the barriers are one that people don't understand. For example, just the nature of a course, not having hip hop, which, not having gospel. And I know at the high school level that the former principal has been out, really advocating for it for years. So it is wonderful to hear that it'll be coming. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation and your report. It was excellent. Many things you've already covered that I would have asked this question, such as like the importance and emphasis of early introduction, especially for historically underserved groups, the sort of lack of diversity in the instructional aspect, and even doubling the instruction time. So I'm going to fast forward to the therapeutic aspect of music. In the report, they talked about Dr. Ford's 6 factors, which to me, I won't go into details, but it very much aligns with like the adverse childhood experiences, ACE scores and things. And that being right at the intersection of cultural responsiveness versus what we're talking about here is enrichment activities that they support youth. And, the hallmarks of poverty being like tyranny of the moment and the lack of access to enrichment activities. And I'm looking for how school can have a palliative effect and impact parents and students and their families. So as far as there being cultural responsiveness in the music, for example, you talked about the lack of hip-hop as an instructional, and I even saw that there was a mentioning of jazz. Well, jazz was created by Black people, and then it became part of, basically our curriculum in over a 50-year period. So is there any thoughts or ideas about the therapeutic aspect of music, even maybe some cultural relative activities like call and response drumming and things of that nature?
I 100% agree with you about that. I know that there is a little opportunity to work with social workers. I know that there's an art teacher working with a social worker in the district, and maybe there could be a music teacher working with social workers in the district for that therapeutic piece. I think that's a great idea.
I would also like to add that one of the things in these procedures that we want to make sure doesn't happen, and again, it's goodwill on the part of the teachers, but they cannot hold a student back from a lesson or their choral period because the child's having a bad day. Because if that child gets to go, could be a little bit of a therapeutic diversion to put them back on the straight path. So we are really going to work hard on that. That's an internal thing that we can do.
And the jazz piece, we have a jazz band at Hackett and Myers Middle School, and you know the high school too. So,
Dr. Jator.
I was going to ask the question about drums, but Tabitha already asked that. So I want to go in a different direction. Talking about interdisciplinary curriculum. So we just talked about world languages. Now, world music is another area where we have an opportunity to tie in language with instruments and music across the world, right? And it makes it interesting, and that might be one way to engage the students and expose them to something else. You could go even further, and let's say Chinese, right? So if you take Chinese as a Chinese language, as a Chinese instruments, you look at stringed instruments, there's probably about 50 different stringed instruments. You could tie that with physics and look at harmonics. So, I mean, there's different ways to engage the kids and bring in different aspects of the curriculum. You could do a week-long thing, so what they learn in music and languages is also something that is covered in the science classes, so it's like you're on the same thematic scheme. So just a comment.
It's a good idea.
Ms. Lang.
I wanted to say thank you for the action plan. I think it was really good. I think one of the things that, I was especially excited about was the opportunity for after-school programs, or kind of a club for those students that may know they're not going to practice at home ever, even if they want to. Maybe it's too loud in their home, there's too many siblings, there's no one there to, get them to understand what the C is or what the rhythm is, and they don't have access maybe to YouTube to listen to the song prior, or whatever those things are. And I was wondering, I know that we had done a music survey, and I was wondering if that music survey, the results had been talked about, or what came out of that survey?
The qualitative survey was done in 3 of the elementary schools, at Giffen, Spa, and Ash, and there was similarities and there was differences between students. It really showed, in my view, hearing from the kids, that the Ash kids, who you would expect to want more music, didn't appreciate the after-school opportunity because they were already getting a lot of enrichment. Where in the opposite aspect, Giffen and Spa, the kids were very excited at the opportunity to have an after-school music opportunity for them. So that was a big takeaway for me on elementary. I think that's what you're asking. And then the high school was quantitative, so it was really, what's your favorite music? Are you currently enrolled in music now? If so, what is it? And if you're not, are you interested in starting music? And the takeaway from that was the genre of music that students were interested in, and it was a large variety of musical interest, but the rap and hip hop definitely outplayed everything else. Their jazz was up there, rock was up there, everything was in the list. Yeah, music technology was huge. The kids really wanted to be doing that more. And a lot of interest of kids who said, yeah, I want to start. I would love to learn how to do an instrument, but I never had an opportunity. Maybe they came from out of the country. Maybe they came from a charter school where there isn't a music program. So we have a lot of those students that aren't native at the elementary level to Albany, but have come and still want to have that experience. But right now at the high school, the only option is a general music class.
So I guess, and following that up, which would have been a second question, is once the children are in 3rd grade, they receive something from their music teacher or something to sign up for an instrument. Do they then get that opportunity in 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade? Is it something that's sent home to parents? Is it a one-on-one? how does that recruitment process happen?
Do you want to talk about your process?
No, I think this is one of the procedures and protocols that we're speaking about that, I mean, I'm sitting here, I don't know the answer to that question. I don't know how much, I think that they reach out. My understanding is that the music teachers will reach out if they need a clarinet and they don't have one in the 3rd grade. Well, they might go into the 4th grade where they were in last year and sort of recruit kids and see if maybe they can get another clarinet because they need that to, you know, to balance out their band. So so we need to understand how it works, and then we need to make sure that kids who want to do this have access and opportunity to do it.
Ms. Roach.
I wanted to thank you so much, both for your 2017 report, which was really a nice, very real look at these issues, and for your action plan. I'm really excited about what's going on, and I think it's sort of a great example of, you know, the fact that something like institutionalized racism isn't about individual prejudiced people, but rather a system that's been set up that works for some people and not for others. And of course, I do like that you point out that this is like this at a national level, but we run the Albany schools, so we have to fix it here. One thing I did have a question about was regarding the 3rd item on your action plan, which was increased staffing at elementary underserved schools, and it says it's not being implemented at this time. Does that mean you're not increasing staffing at this time, or you're not planning to collect data on that?
Yeah, we plan to collect the data through the 2018-19 to determine if students in our underserved buildings really don't have the same access to instruments. I'm not sure that we have a 100% clear idea that that is true. I mean, we open it up, and when children are in line and they want an instrument, they get an instrument, they get to try it out. That's it's been driven by student interest. But is the student interest coming, are we not doing the right kind of recruitment with the student interest to make sure that more kids have access and opportunity? So
okay, so what I'm hearing is you will be doing that. You will be doing that data collection and studies.
We're going to do the data.
I think that's a big part of the picture, and I love that you've got these other elements. I love the idea of starting a new instrument in high school. I love the idea of after-school makeup lessons and after-school practice sessions. But I think, you know, the initial ability to get the instruments and the instrumental lessons in elementary school is a big part of it. So I just encourage you to make sure not to let that piece slip away. Thank you so much for your work on this.
Ms. Smith.
Yes, just to echo everyone else's words, I appreciate your work on this very much. I wanted to, I'm glad to hear perhaps that you're collecting more data, although it sounds like we have a lot of information where we could, you know, move and take some steps now. One of the things that for years that I'd been hearing was, and you've addressed it, Ms. Bechtel, that if their behavior was such that then they couldn't do this or they couldn't do that. And that really stays with you. I mean, once that happens to you as a child, then you'll never really want to express an interest in anything because the answer is always going to be no, you can't do that. So I really hope and like that we're considering a different approach to engage a child differently. I also very much like the idea that we're thinking about, you know, the gospel and the hip hop and other things like that. And I'm sure you've already thought about this, what I wouldn't want to see is that you have all this diversity around hip hop and gospel, and then you still, up in the advanced arenas, you have, you know, a lack of diversity. And so I don't know what your discussions have been around that, but I wouldn't want to see that kind of, yeah, exactly.
There is a core content to music instruction, and we're not going to get rid of the core content. It will continue to remain there. You know, just like we're not getting rid of Shakespeare, even though we have the Common Core. It's, you know, we're not, but we have to take, so I think that core content needs to stay, and we need to attract children to some of those, you know, to orchestra and to band and those things. But I do think that what we have to do inside our system is find the room for the music tech, for the drumming, for the keyboarding, because that's the kind of music that kids that they want to make. And well, I'm going to end there.
If I might. So, but I think what I'm also getting at is, I understand the reasons for auditions and those kinds of things, but I wonder what the rules are for kids. I mean, I've heard things like, and I believe, never mind, I won't attest it to any one person, but, you know, I've heard folks say, well, you don't know how to read music, so you can't be here. Well, help me with that. I just, that doesn't make sense to me.
I'll chime in. So there are some prerequisites in different levels of classes. If you're in a symphonic level, which from my previous life, that was the top level, if you're not reading music, that's not going to be an option for you because those students are too advanced. Again, it goes back to how do we build the pipeline and how are we teaching students to read music so that when they get to that level, they can make that choice of whether that's something that they choose to engage in. I'm probably going to step out on a limb here and say that our offerings are going to be based on student interest. Again, that pipeline to expose children to different types or different genres of music in earlier ages so that they can learn and gain an appreciation and value music that may not be their preference is what we do in an education system. As they get older, we still have the merit of offerings for them, but ultimately they'll make choices to be in one performing group or another. And so those kinds of things we will absolutely be able to do over time. We can build into our programs that ability to read music because I am going to tell you, I say Jerome is my fellow orchestra mate. I'm an orchestra student and former orchestra student, and I will tell you by the time I was in 3rd grade, because I started in 2nd grade playing the violin, so in all intents and purposes it may have been a little late in life, but I started in 2nd grade. By the time I was in 3rd grade, we were not permitted to write the letters underneath the notes anymore. You needed to read music by then, but the instruction was there. We have to make sure that that is part of our program. And I'm not saying that to say that it's not. I'm saying that that's how we get more diversity and more students aspiring to do different types is through the preparation pipeline.
And may I just say, Superintendent, that's really what I wanted to hear.
Oh.
Okay, I'm a music student, so I totally get that. And I do think it does have to start early, just like, and it's a language too, you know, and it has to start early. But I also think that it is possible for kids to learn at those older ages, to learn some basics about how to read music. Some of them perform incredibly. So how can you help bridge that to reading music? I think we can do that. And I see a nod from our young man here.
Ms. Savage. Ms. Savage. Where's Andre?
So, do we have mics? Can I hear? So thank you again for the fantastic work. This is exactly what I meant by TLC when we were talking about world languages. This is hard to do from the seat of a teacher. You really need to be able to take this big view, and we do need that for all of our programs. And so I really feel that we made a good, solid investment when we pushed, this board really pushed pretty hard to say we need a full-time arts administrator. Every other school in the area has one, and we need one because we need to see this addressed. And we made it very contingent on addressing equity. We said, we want to hire this person, but we want to hire this person because we want this to happen. And so I feel very much that we made a wise investment in that position, and thank you very much, Kate, for all of your work. One thing you spoke very passionately about, Karen, just now was the question of elementary participation in lessons and the use of behavioral or academic problems to bring kids back. I don't see that explicitly in your action plan, despite the fact that you spoke very passionately about it. I'd really like to see it explicitly in the action plan because I think we all have talked about that for many years, and it needs to be explicit. And two other things that came up, one from the 2017 report and one maybe just from my head that I don't see in there, is access to space. The 2017 report was really explicit that, especially at the elementary level, we have issues with providing proper space. And then the second one, and this one I can't remember if it was in the report, is transportation for concerts, that is an ongoing problem for our elementary students, being able to get to a concert, to be able to get to marching band, to be able to get wherever they're trying to go. And I don't remember seeing that in the action plan, and I don't know if you've kind of put that on the back burner, or those two things stood out to me as issues that were not explicitly addressed.
One of the worst things I saw was when I went to a Myers concert. It was a high school concert at Myers, which must have been the All City. And a young man, this was about 3 years ago, a young man who lives in North Albany walked in when his ensemble was over, because he had to take 2 buses from North Albany to get over to Myers. So, we have really worked, and it broke my heart. And that's a high school kid who actually has access to the bus, but the bus is challenging to maneuver around. We know that transportation is an issue. We have instituted, for things like All City, to have a bus at schools that will pick up parents and pick up students and bring them. I don't know if we've had that many riders, but, I don't know. It isn't in here because I think because it's something that we're working on. We're already aware of it. It's just a monstrous kind of problem because, and anyway, we need to do more brainstorming around it. We know it's there. And then what was the first thing, Ann, that you asked? Oh, and space is another. Space is at a premium in this district. Everyone knows it. We do have art on a cart. We have, We have some interesting, at Eagle Point, some interesting music spaces there. And maybe when the 6th grade comes out of that building, that will free up some space to do some things. But we do have a few buildings where space is really at a premium, and we do the best that we can with what we have. We can't make more space unless we do trailers.
So, Andre, am I? Oh, yep, there I am. I have a couple of things, and then I'll go back around again and come back for my other couple of things. On the issue of the behaviors and lessons and all that, so the one thing that I thought you might have said, Ms. Bechtel, that I just wanted to speak to quickly is something about it sort of like some teachers do it and we sort of have to get the message out. So from board conversations that we had and actually had during the hiring process when we were looking for a new superintendent, one of the scenarios we used was this issue. And my sense from the board then, and I don't think it's changed, is that needs to be a district-wide, system-wide edict. It's not ad hoc from teacher. It's not like a building does it a certain way, but it starts where the mantra, the message is, we do not use things like participation in athletics or in music, the things that often will sometimes drive involvement and buy-in from students. And it's not even, I mean, somebody could say, well, that's racial. It's for any student who maybe have ants in her or his pants, or is not performing well in school, proficiency-wise on reading, may find that whatever else we give them. So to me, it should never be teacher-driven. It should be, I don't know how to do it, short of like branding it on walls, but it seems to need to be district-wide. The other is something I put in one of the emails, which is Tri-M finally came back after a 5-year hiatus in the district, and it is back and running, but it actually, as you know, is a grade 6 through 12 program. So to me, that should be a very easy lift, and I know there's the issue of getting advisors, but there should be a way of doing an easy lift so that a program nationally that runs 6 through 12 should in this district be in place next year. Again, that's just my opinion said very vehemently, but should not be run half, you know what. It shouldn't be just for the high school, though it just started up, but as of next year, we should be doing it in the middle schools and in the grade 6s that are in elementary schools, because that is such an easy lift to get kids to see other kids involved in music and see that there's a life for them. And one more, and then I'll start it around. One other quick thing was about keyboarding. So Schenectady had keyboarding. If they do, they have it in the Schenectady City High School. And I've always wondered why we didn't have it here, and we learned it when I went around with my older son for the program. And to me, keyboarding, independent of the technology, is there's a kid who Vicki and I talk about, there's a young man who both my boys taught keyboarding through the piano program. And he truly had ants in his pants, and he had a lot of behavior problems. And he just banged on stuff and stayed in the room, but over the years of being taught sequentially by each boy, he eventually, behaviors changed, and he always showed up for the lessons, so that was a message that he was there for some reason. He's in the indoor percussion group, he plays in the pep band, and he's a good student now, and he increases racial diversity in any group he's in, so we'll describe it that way. And my point, though, is that it doesn't matter what you've learned on, because he doesn't play piano much anymore. And he really was doing maybe like Ode to Joy with two hands was the most significant thing he had moved on to. But learning on a keyboard allowed him to become a drummer and to become a percussionist. And we have great percussionists at the high school and in middle school. And so that, to me, is a testament to being able to get that in place, because those are so much easier to buy, I know because we've had to buy them for the program, than to buy, a cello or to buy another, or a brass instrument. But to learn on a cheap keyboard that we can get, I mean, people think it's more expensive, but they're not. They're so much cheaper, and what you learn on how to read music and how you learn tempo and all that, I know I'm preaching to the choir, is so doable. And we can get it so, and sometimes kids don't want to learn violin, as wonderful as it is, but and if we don't have those, it's great if we do, but getting music into their lives and getting them to read music and getting them to appreciate it is, is just so wonderful. So thank you for all you've done. Ms. Wilson.
Thank you again. And I was going to indicate, we talked about the therapeutic aspect, and I also wanted to talk about maybe the academic rigor component. Earlier, you spoke about the disparity between suburban and urban districts and the constrained resources and the fact that music instructions or the arts will often be sort of like the first to not get prioritized. And I think one aspect of that discussion is the fact that the hidden letter in STEM is A for the arts, and that music does support academics, and you often do see a correlation, especially when the early instruction for youth and things of that nature, which I think is part of the conversation we need to have when we talk about music. But everything else, I think we've all spoken about, so thank you.
Dr. Chator. Ms. Lang.
Do children ever get asked to leave the music program?
Not the program, that to my knowledge, but not allowed to attend a lesson.
Ms. Rose.
I just had a quick question, and I know that most of your equity report has focused on the ensembles, but I wondered are we still doing recorders in elementary school music class? And if we are, is that consistent across the district?
I would have to go back and check actually last year's curriculum report, but I believe that every third grader is doing recorder in the district. Why don't I send that in the update? I get a firm answer for you.
Thank you.
Ms. Smith. Ms. Savage.
I just wanted to make one suggestion, which is as you work through your handbook and your policies, anything that's parent-facing, I'd encourage you to get a group of parents to review whatever you come up with, any forms or materials, because questions come up from parents that I certainly don't always occur to, like we just had a little to-do at one of the schools that I follow, their listserv about what the clothes were for the children, right? And so adding the expense of a new outfit, because randomly it came out that you have to wear blue pants and a white top instead of black pants and a white top for no apparent reason that anyone knew of. But those kinds of things really are an imposition on a family that's of very limited means. And so reviewing those kinds of things with a group of parents who are living this would help, and I don't necessarily mean the parents who are the parents of the advanced orchestra parents. I'm talking about the third grade parents who are entering this for the very first time to say, what does this mean to you? Do you understand this? When you get this form home that says, would you like to rent an instrument? When I saw the form when my child was in third grade, it said, would you be able to rent an instrument? But there was no dollars associated with it. So really, could you answer that question? Like those kinds of things, parents of younger children could really be helpful in making sure that our materials were meaningful to the families. So that's my suggestion.
Thank you.
So the last three suggestions that, oh, sure, Ms. Lang.
We're talking about music and younger age, and this just popped into my head is I know that we always do concerts for our 4th and 5th graders. Is there a reason why we're not doing them K to 2 or K to 3, some kind of music, where the music teacher is doing a performance in the schools?
I have been to some schools, actually I believe it was here, where the children do some singing as a part of the concert, but it might have been an internal concert. I would have to find out what they're doing with the younger children, but it would be all vocal. They're learning songs in general music, and I believe there is a platform for those children to sing those in a public setting, even if it's in an assembly setting with their fellow children in their school. But I'd have to check.
I've never heard any of my children sing younger than 4th grade. I mean, the 4th graders chorus sing, but I don't know the music teacher. I personally have never had an interaction with a music teacher. Just if my kids were in chorus, I would know the music teacher, but my kids aren't in chorus. I know the orchestra teacher from them doing strings, but the music teacher, like if they're all doing recorders, do they have an end of recorder concert for the parents in 3rd grade, or a K2
Choral.
recital,
Yep, general music sort
kind of
thing.
general
Yep.
music where they get dressed up
Let me
for
check.
the holidays or something?
Kate and I can check on that, actually. I keep jumping in. I'm used to doing it.
So the last couple of things is one is for a long time, Ms. Bechtel knows that I used to go to concerts and count the kids, the racial balance in the ensembles at the high school, and then come back and report, things that hadn't changed or gotten worse. So this week, was the last of the high school concerts, and vocal music rocked, and my son, in fact, said, boy, vocal music sounded great, because some people who came, some of the select choirs came and helped support them, as Mr. Hoffman has them do. And what was particularly noteworthy is, some amazing voices, the 2 soloists in Joyful rocked the house. So one of the things I want to say, along with Courageous Conversations, is that sometimes there's a significant shift. So you have vocal music, and then you have select choir, and then the racial balance shifts just from vocal music to select choir. And worse for me is I see vocal music and I hear great voices, and I've been doing this for 9 years, that's spanning the length of my children's, that have been going to these concerts, and I'll hear voices in vocal music, and then I will look at Albinettes the next year, and I'll wonder where those young women went. And so that leads me to my second point, which is related to this, which you touched on earlier about encouraging. So part of the nature of implicit bias, which is, again, not intentional, is the concept of people selecting themselves to audition or knowing to respond to a sign that says, anybody interested in auditioning for Albinettes? And we can always say that then the lack of kids showing up to audition is a thing, but sometimes, and I've had this because I have, as you know, have had personal conversations about recruitment for jazz and ensembles over the years when we were not meeting even the 20 that you needed, and we didn't have 9th graders in some ensembles at those years. So for me, there's a recruitment piece that has to happen, and part of it is going out and talking to students and encouraging them so that when they're singing in your vocal music group, the people leading those groups say, I want you all coming out and signing up and auditioning for Albinettes. And jazz is a perfect example. Anybody who's heard the jazz ensemble now play, and they're now large enough to sustain it, there were those years where they fought it. We had, under Mike Richmond, who was wonderful, and we had more money, we had like 10 or 11 kids in the ensemble, and they didn't start till 10th grade. And there was a lot of pushback, if we want to have honest conversations, about jazz meeting the 20-person requirement or getting close to it to run an actual class. And I kept hearing, because I had the one-on-one conversations, well, not everybody's at the same level. I'm like, so that's differentiation. If you can do it in ELA, you can do it in music. And lo and behold, if you go to the concerts and you hear A band and you hear B band, you may hear a difference, but they both are wonderful. And they've mentored each other, and there's rigor because they watch what other kids do. So, I've seen it when there's the pushback, and we've gotten it going in some places, but part of it is, again, it's not intentional, but part of it is our staff. They're wonderful, they're dedicated, they love our children, but they don't realize that they're placing obstacles by not going out and doing the recruitment that is necessary. And I always say we're not a conservatory. Maybe our kids will get there one day, but we're not. We're a high school in a public, urban setting, and kids' lives get saved by the specials that we involve them in, by the contact they have with people one-on-one outside of a regular classroom setting. And it is imperative that every teacher understand that, and understand that that you must go out and you must do it. Ward has done it for years, and he has saved lives. And there is no reason that all of our specials can't do it. So I think that was really the only piece. Oh, last question is a question for you. AHS lessons that are going to increase next year. Is that going to increase for all of the students? My concern is, are we then going to be supporting through that extra FTE piece, point whatever, the same students who look like me? Or how is that going to work out? And I'm not suggesting we don't increase for them, but for me, if someone said to me, I've got $1 and I can use it in a certain way, because that's how the district budgets, then my statement would be, I'd prefer that we used it to drive the further encouragement of other children into, ensembles and through lessons, rather than the same kids who just are not getting what they need to even be better than they already are.
We calculated it based upon the populations in vocal, select, and actually, and then your first level orchestra, your first level band. So every kid who is in an ensemble will have one lesson a week. So, but let me say one thing. If the student is in two things, like if they're in select and they're in troubadours, they're still getting one lesson a week. That doesn't double because they're in two ensembles, and that would be the same for a band and jazz. Because those lesson periods are really focused on that individual's instrument and how they're interacting with that instrument. We also have this year we put in place we reinstated the credit for outside lessons, and so students can take advantage of that. We did that. Suburban Council's like, we can't believe you guys aren't doing this, so we got it going. We have the paperwork up. It's SED allows us to do it. Basically, a private music teacher can certify. The student needs to keep track, and the private school teacher keeps track and reports to the music teacher at the high school, which then gets reported to guidance as the lesson part of this. You get a credit, but it's you get a credit upon completion, and completion of all, there is paperwork involved with it. And then we're saying to those students that they don't have to do a lesson in our school if they are in outside lessons. And on that subject, because we did a little bit of myth busting, in that people were saying kids who could access outside lessons were the ones that were really performing at these higher level ensembles. And what we discovered, it was not a scientific survey. We were a little rushed for time, but we did speak to all the teachers, and what we discovered, there were 75 kids from middle and high school. That's not, and it wasn't elementary, was it? Did we ask elementary? So in our opinion is that it wasn't this huge amount of kids that were accessing outside lessons and impacting the diversity of our upper level ensembles because they had extra time with someone outside. So I said kudos to the music department. You know, you guys are doing the work. You're doing the work. So
There's no doubt, I mean, having been at the concerts, they were wonderful. But I will say is that I wish on your list of what to spend the money on this coming year, that the increasing of kids in the troubadours and in, select choir and in advanced orchestra to get one lesson a week, not that that's not worthy, but given the other things on the to-do list, my years in this district are such that I wish that dollar that we had went to a few of the other items before it went to increasing that. Because not that they can't get better and they don't deserve that, but there are kids totally underserved in lower grades that I wish that, again, scarce resources, where do we start putting it? That wouldn't be where my vote was. So just thought I'd throw that out. Anybody else? Thank you so much. Oh, please.
I just wondered if you wanted to have any last words? We should. I just wanted to give you
The lessons in Albany High are basically how the students are graded. So we come to a lesson and then we get, participation points, not just from the rehearsal of that period, but the actual lesson that we have scheduled that week. That's what we get graded on. And if you miss it, then there's you lose that grade and then your grade goes down. And that's what some students might have trouble with if they need the art credit in order to graduate. So if that part of the budget has to go to kids getting more than one lesson per week, it's probably detrimental to their ability to graduate.
So I appreciate that and the input. One of the ways of solving that, so life lesson to a high school, in conversation with a high school junior, is we could just for free change the grading issues so it's not dependent on the lesson.
Exactly.
And use the money so that kids get to be where you are as a junior, which again, it would be great if we had all the money in the world, but that's the only reason I said it. I never would want to penalize someone, but there's always a way of fixing an unintended consequence. But I don't decide budgeting alone, so
Right.
don't worry. So don't worry, no one's going to get penalized just
No.
because I spoke tonight about
I
this.
support, the decision getting those kids from, elementary school and bring them up to our level. Same way with lacrosse. If kids knew from grade 3 and then brought it up, Albany varsity lacrosse would not just be 3 years old, So I support your decision.
And thank you so much, all of you, for coming, and thank you for coming this evening. And I'm sorry, we don't take from the audience, but we can talk to you when we break the meeting, but thank you. Board committee reports? Any committees? Ms. Savage.
Very briefly, the policy committee met. You saw the results of most of our meeting tonight, and we also discussed at great length the code of conduct, which you will be seeing very shortly. The enhanced code of conduct, it is that time of year.
Ms. Smith.
Yes, great. The Facilities Committee has been busy, although there's, and we have an upcoming meeting on the 19th at Academy Park, so we want to extend an invitation to the public. As Ms. Adams articulated earlier, staff have been available and, organizing the OSHA trainings, and we have had 2 sessions where we have the last training this Saturday, or second part of the last training this Saturday. And, I think we couldn't be happier with the attendance and the participation. One of the next pieces that we'll be doing is trying to work with the unions, as Ms. Adams said, to now move those folks who have trained into apprenticeships and pre-apprenticeship programs. So there's a lot going on, and we will continue to keep you updated. And I just want to extend a big thanks to some of our staff, Ron Lesko and Ben Mara And I also wanted to note tonight that James Mitchell was here in the audience. He is one of the contractors associated with Mission Accomplished, Carmen Duncan, and they together are helping to do the recruitment for the trainings, helping to keep track of the trainings that individuals go through, and also to help get them assigned to work or to apprenticeship programs. So again, thank you all.
Any other reports? General board discussion? None, seeing none. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Ms. Wilson, seconded by Ms. Savage. All those in favor? Thank you so much. And we're staying around. If you want to use the bathroom, then we're going to the library again.